Hey everyone, welcome to this video on how to create a method of procedure, commonly called a MOP for data center equipment maintenance. Now I know it sounds like admin work, but this little document, it's what helps us do high-risk maintenance without putting people or uptime at risk. Alright, let's set the stage by looking at what we'll actually cover. Learning objectives. Here's what we're going to walk through today. What a MOP really is and why it matters. When do we need one? The key elements to include common mistakes to avoid, and how to improve them over time based on real jobs. Cool. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a MOP? A MOP is a step-by-step guide that explains exactly how to carry out a maintenance task, especially if there's risk involved or it could affect operations. Think about a generator load test or a UPS isolation. If something goes wrong, there's no room for oops. A well-written MOP removes that risk by laying out the game plan, clearly and safely. When is a MOP required in a data center? It is required any time a task could potentially impact uptime, safety, or the functionality of critical infrastructure. It's not just paperwork, it's a safeguard for operations. First, MOPs are essential during preventive or corrective maintenance on power and cooling systems. For example, when performing a load bank test on a UPS system, replacing a failed generator starter, cleaning crack filters, or using thermal imaging to scan for hotspots on a power distribution unit, each of these activities involves inherent risk and requires a structured approach. Next, MOPs are mandatory during equipment upgrades or cutovers. That includes uploading new firmware to the building management system, updating the logic on STS or ATS units, migrating to a new monitoring platform, or replacing control boards inside a UPS. Any change in configuration can introduce new risks if not carefully managed. They're also critical during load transfers and isolation work. Whether you're switching load from utility to generator, isolating UPS output to test a breaker, transferring mechanical loads between key rack units, or racking breakers in and out, these are moments where a mistake could take down a system. And finally, MOPs are required for any task that could impact uptime or safety, even if it's not routine maintenance. Think of fire alarm interface testing, drilling near live conduit, working overhead above energized cabinets, or powering up a new cabinet inside a live data hall. These are high-risk moments that demand formal procedures. Let's now break down what a solid MOP actually looks like. So what goes into a solid MOP? You want a structure that's easy to follow, like 1. Job title and basic info. 2. Scope of work, what you're actually doing. 3. A pre-work checklist. 4. The step-by-step procedure. 5. Reinstatement and final checks. 6. Signatures to close it out. That's the flow. From prep to closeout, it's all in one place. Let's zoom into the first critical piece, the pre-work checklist. Before anyone picks up a tool, your MOP should walk the team through a proper prep checklist. Let's say we're about to do a 12-month service on a standby generator. Here's what you do, and more importantly, why. Notify the NOC, Network Operations Center. The NOC oversees live systems across the site. If you isolate a power source or trigger an alarm, they're the first ones to see it. Giving them a heads-up prevents panic and avoids unnecessary incident escalations. It also lets them monitor the system in real time while you're working. The next one, check the BMS for alarms. The building management system gives you live data from across the facility. Temperatures, voltages, system faults, you name it. Before doing any work, you want to make sure there aren't existing issues or active alarms. If something's already wrong, you could make it worse without realizing it. Verify fuel and coolant levels. Obviously, this is an important pre-check you will do before your run generator offload or onload to inspect the working parameters. So this should be included. Inspect tools and PPE. You don't want to get halfway through the job and realize your torque wrench is off or your gloves are damaged. Quick checks now mean fewer delays later. So this is very crucial. Assign and label LODO kits. That's lockout tagout, a safety system to make sure no one accidentally energizes a piece of equipment while someone else is working on it. For example, when we isolate a generator feeder breaker, we lock it in the off position and tag it with our name, time, and reason. That way, everyone knows the system is offline for a reason. and no one flips it back on until it's safe. So yeah, this part might seem basic, but it's where most jobs go wrong when people rush it. A solid pre-check is what sets up the rest of the MOP for success.